every year I plant tobacco. I am a smoker. I would say that my tobacco crop covers about a third of my smoking needs. I should cut really bad for me. But I do enjoy the growing process. And what I've done here is I've got several varieties. These are Massachusetts Wrapper, Golden Burley, White Mammoth, Virginia Red, and then I have some landrace tobacco that I've allowed the best plants with the most neglect and the biggest leaves to crossbreed. And you can see those are right here next to the Golden Burley. They're huge already. Every year I save seeds from those. And so I end up with my own personal tobacco plant variety. These are now at the point, if you look closely, let me find one, you can see the bigger ones have multiple baby leaves, right? They're not just two leaves, the cotyledon, the leaves that the seed made. They are actually making their own leaves now without any power from the seed itself, which means that these little blocks are starting to get full of roots, right? All these little forests on each block makes all these roots. So today is the day for pricking out the tobacco. Pricking out means, like I said with the lettuce, taking a single plant, a single little seedling from the dirt up, so you're disturbing as little of the roots as possible, and putting it into a larger container of dirt. That's what I'm going to be doing today, is taking this tray of tobacco and making it into little pots. I'm going to show you something else. Not tobacco. These are purple basil. I don't know why it says Geno. There it is. Purple basil, right? And what I've done is, because I planted a lot of basil seeds. I had a ton that were old and going bad. So I planted a ton of them. And when I pricked them out, I took several for each of these little pots and I spread them out just gently so that there'd be room in between them in these little containers, so they would have a little more space. Today, because they have their second and some of them have their third set of real leaves, they're still very small, but they're starting to get their real leaves. So today what I'm going to do is something very gentle. This is just a really gentle, it's just the cheapest fish fertilizer of any kind, fish emulsion, anything that's like a really low level fertilizer. And this is a 511. NPK are what you're looking for. Nitrogen is the first number. Phosphorus is the second number. Potassium is the third. So you want these three to be in the right order for the time of life of your plant. So for little babies, you want just a little bit of nitrogen. So instead of just like dumping this, right, because this is kind of concentrated, I'm going to take a little tiny bit into my watering can. I'm going to fill this watering can and I'm going to water them all. And it'll just give them a little tiny bit of a boost. And I literally just put a few drops in there, you know, and let me fill this. You can, you know, pretend I'm still there talking to you. Pretend you can still see my beautiful crone face while I do this. I'm just filling this little watering can to the rim. So now this is very, very watered down. It's not extreme. It's not a lot of fertilizer. It's just barely a little boost. And I'm just going to put a little bit. They're already a little bit damp. None of them are drying out. So I'm just going to kind of water them. And I'm only going to do this once for now. I'll wait another week or so before I do it again. I'll wait until they're a lot bigger before I do it again. And I will do this with basically every plant in here. Once I have pricked them out and separated them up into bigger containers of any kind, even these little Dixie cups, I'll give them just that little bitty drink once they get a few extra leaves. Let me show you something else. This is my Osaka mustard. I love mustard. And it's easy to grow here. Again, this was a little forest, a little patch, a clump, like you saw the tobacco. And I spread them out in here, right? So they're spread out. They have room to make roots. I'm just giving them, as you can see, if you look close, these two first leaves at the bottom, let me find a good one that you can see. Here's a good leggy one, but you can see the structure here. Get it up high. These two leaves came out of the seed. They're not real leaves. These two leaves are real leaves, and these baby ones in the middle are the next set of real leaves. So this is actually, some of these are on the third set of real leaves. Cotyledon or cotyledon are the baby leaves, the first things you see when a plant sprouts. And they come from the energy and power that is stored in the seed, not in the dirt, not in the water, not in any kind of fertilizer. The seed itself, like a little egg yolk, has energy in it for these plants to get started. And the way they get started is they make that first little set of leaves, and that first little set of leaves can't really do anything. They're just there to make it pop out of the seed and start eating up the energy and the fertilizer that's in the seed itself. I just kind of watered this whole little tray. So when they only have, like these, only have, oh, here's a better example. These only have that first set plus the first set of real leaves. They're really little babies at that point. Here's some that only have their first set of leaves. There's just 2 leaves on each little sprout. They're babies. They don't need any fertilizer. They don't need anything from you except to stay damp and to get light and to not freeze. Most plants don't want to freeze. So when they're at that size, just make sure they don't dry out completely. Give them plenty of water. Make sure that they are lit up well. But once they get these extra leaves, then they're turning into a real plant, big boys. And at that point, sorry I'm so close to you, at that point you can give them just a really watered down little bit of this. An alternative, if you don't want to buy any kind of fertilizer or you just can't afford it, an alternative to that juicy juice, the fishy juice, is to just take dirt from outside, real dirt, regular dirt, or some kind of, I don't know, like worm cast or a bag of, dirt, potting soil, and use that to up pot them. It will have enough nutrients in them to get them to that stage where they have multiple leaves. Once they are big and they have multiple leaves, let me show you a guy. Let's find a good guy. Here's one. I do start my cucurbits really early for most people, but here's one. Now we have the cotyledon. You can see they look a little different. They're kind of round at the end. They look a little different from the real leaves. And then we have a big real leaf. That's the first step. And then we have a second and third leaf for this guy. So he's doing really good. I've given him 1 drink of that fertilizer. I'm so sorry for moving you around so much today. But I'm about to give all of those that are in there. They're all pretty big now. They're all going to get their second drink of that fish fertilizer. I used the crappy like seedling mix stuff for these guys. So they really do need some kind of help. The ones that I used, garden soil, like old potting soil, native soil from outside, stuff like that. I'm going to show you how those look. These have had no fertilizer at all. And they're doing great. They're huge. They have many real leaves. And they're just eating the nutrients that are in the regular ass dirt. So you don't necessarily need any fertilizer, especially for babies. Little baby plants, they don't need it. You can put them in regular dirt and they'll eventually eat the nutrients. That's loud out there. But you don't need to fertilize them or buy anything. Just use the old dirt you've got, a little bit of dirt from outside. Whatever you have will pretty much feed them and keep them going until they're big enough to go outside. Now, for me, with the tobacco, I do like to give them a little boost because I want those plants to have a lot of nitrogen because that's what makes the nicotine content in the leaves eventually. So throughout their growing cycle, I do fertilize them. I use some Osmocote, I use that fish fertilizer, and I use compost from my bin outside. I got a bin full of junk. But if you're fancy, you can buy all kinds of things. I'm going to show you some of the things people have given me. This because I need it. I actually buy that. Someone has given me, this year, a lot of people have given me things, which is wonderful. I've gotten Grow Big, which has 644. That's a lot of nitrogen. I've gotten, what else do I have up here? MagTal. This is for things like trees, fruit, tomatoes, potatoes, peppers. Calcium and magnesium is not good for them, but it does have a lot of nitrogen. These 3 numbers, you see that? 10, 0, 0. Use this early in the season because once you want them to start making fruit, you don't want to give them high nitrogen anymore. Nitrogen makes them make a leaf. And there are other, I don't think I have any out here, but there are other fertilizers and things you can get that have different numbers. So like instead of 10, 0, 0, or, you know, like the fish stuff is 511 or whatever, you can get things that are like 1, 6, 10 or whatever. Each number does a different thing for the plant. With tobacco, obviously, I want a lot of leaves. I don't need roots. I don't need flowers. I don't need fruit. I just want leaves. So nitrogen is what they get. High, first number. This 1000 would be good for those. For a plant like beets or carrots, you want something that has a high middle number, or sorry, last number. So instead of 511, you might want 115 because you want the roots to grow. I do have a root thing here. Hang on, I have a root ruckus. Root ruckus. What's in root ruckus with the turbocharged super compost? It is kelp, humic acid, mycorrhizal fungi, and it is labeled on this really old container at 446. So that last number is high. Roots, big roots. Carrots, beets, radishes, things like that, where you want the roots to take off. Or baby trees, where you want the roots to really settle in. And then, you know, things that have a big middle number, like it's 464 or something like that. Those are good for making a plant flower and fruit. So your flowers, your fruits, that is what you're going to put on those. The middle number needs to be higher. And I'm pretty sure this is correct. I could be absolutely wrong about the last and the middle number being the way they are. I might be wrong about those. I'll have to look it up. But if you want big leaves, lettuce, greens, tobacco, other things where you want the leaves to grow, and the leaves are your goal, then you want to use something that's high in nitrogen, that first number. And almost everything that is a fertilizer will have those 3 numbers on it somewhere. I think legally, if they call themselves a fertilizer, they have to have those 3 numbers. Here we have something someone else gave me. Plant food. This is a dry pellet. You can see those, right? Plant food. And this is 1257, right? So it has a lot of nitrogen, only a little bit of the blooming stuff, and then a lot of the root stuff, I think. And it says apply in the spring, summer, and fall for everything, and you know, that kind of stuff. No. For trees, you want to put it on when the tree is just waking up. So like my figs here, just starting to make leaves. They can get a shot of that. You want to put it on something when it's just gone dormant. All of its leaves have fallen off. It is fall. It is definitely not waking up again. Winter is coming. The tree is asleep. You can put it on there and it'll soak deep into the soil to get to those low roots over the winter. And in the spring, it'll get an extra boost from below. So that kind of dry fertilizer, it'll tell you to keep applying it constantly because they want you to use it up. But they're really only 2 times a year when you want that stuff on a tree. Here I have a little bag of Osmocote someone gave me from their big bag. Same thing. Osmocote is even. It's 14, 14, 14. It's every number is the same. This will feed everything. So you can put this on early spring, right as the trees are waking, and you can put this on as after the trees are asleep, as winter is coming. You can also use this and kind of broadcast it into your rows if you have nutrient deficiencies or your plants are having trouble growing. It'll give them just a little boost, and it's kind of a slow release. It doesn't come out all at once. So you just kind of fling it out there, spread it out a little bit, and it'll slowly kind of feed the soil, which is better than some of the liquid fertilizers that can just get runoff if it rains the next day. I don't know how I got onto fertilizers and stuff like that, but I was talking about the tobacco. Tobacco wants a lot of nitrogen. So I have that fish fertilizer, which is really, really cheap. You can even probably go to like the local nursery and be like, what's the cheapest fish fertilizer? What's the cheapest fish fertilizer? I just want some nitrogen for the beginning of the year. And they'll sell you a gallon for like $5 or something of some stuff. Anything that is high in nitrogen is good at the beginning of the growing period. You want these babies to make their leaves, right? So the nitrogen will help them do that. Once the plant is awake and it has begun to flower, like this avocado, potted avocado, you see these flowers. I want these flowers to bloom. I want to get an actual avocado off this. There's 2 of them here that are flowering. I want to get an avocado. I've had these for 4 years. I know. I'm in a higher zone. I'm like zone 7 or something. They can't live outside, so they're potted plants. It's very unlikely I'll get an avocado, even one. But I'm trying. They do have flowers. So I'm going to use one of these bloom fertilizers to try to help them get the nutrients they need to actually make fruit and open all those flowers up. Do not use that kind of stuff on baby plants. Only the really, really mild amounts, tiny amounts of fish fertilizer or just regular soil is fine. It has enough stuff in it to keep them alive and keep them going. And that is my tobacco fertilizer rant for the day. I think I'll make one more video today because I'm in a good mood and I'm out here. So happy growing. I hope everything that you're growing grows better than what I am.